Thanks, Evelyn. I think the last large group that I stood before, all were wearing the same color clothes. So I want to say that it's kind of refreshing to see a lot of different colors and patterns and things, so it's great. It's a real honor and my privilege to be standing before you tonight. As Evelyn mentioned, I am a retired warden. I spent 30 years with the Georgia Department of Corrections and ended up as a warden. After some other events and after some other positions. She mentioned that I was a probation officer from Mr. Sanders' side of the house there for a while, and then moved myself into prison as a senior counselor in a mental health unit. So my experiences have been pretty varied in the Department of Corrections. And I've worked in 4 state penitentiaries in Georgia. The first was where I was a mental health director, was at the Phillips State Prison, which houses one of our largest mental health populations. And then from there I went to Hayes State Prison, and that is where I actually ran into Kairos for the first time. Hayes State Prison is one of Georgia's toughest prisons. There are newspaper articles and things like that regarding Hayes State Prison, and it is a very difficult place. What I noticed about the Kairos weekends is as the first one was coming around, the timbre of the prison actually started to kind of settle down. Everything became more quiet. It was very interesting. The inmate population was kind of aware of what was about to happen, I guess more than I was. So everyone started to calm down. Just so happens that I was the duty officer, which is a very dubious sort of honor each week. We have a duty officer at the institution. You're responsible for the after-hours activities at the prison, and we did weekend rounds. So on Saturday, when it's time for me to do rounds in Hayes State Prison, everything's very calm down in the special management unit. So I was able to go over to the gym to find out what was going on with the Kairos program. Having had some experience with a 4-day or 3-day weekend myself, I made a Cursillo weekend in the mid-'90s in the Diocese of Atlanta. So I had a little bit of an idea of what was going to be going on. So I got to go into the gym and kind of experience for a few minutes what was going on there. And transforming lives is kind of what I was beginning to see happen on Saturday. You know, we're building up to that crescendo at about that time in the morning when I was there. So it was an interesting thing. Well, that changed me. It changed my heart. That Saturday glimpse. If this could make this prison kind of slow down, and you would start to see lives transformed on a Saturday, it started to transform me. There's got to be something special about this program. So I have to fast forward a bit to, I was assigned as a deputy warden back at Phillips State Prison. At that time, Phillips State Prison didn't have a Kairos program. So I was every few weeks going to the warden at that time and saying, "Warden, we need to bring this Kairos program in here. It's going to make some differences in our population, and we need it here." Unfortunately, at that time, Phillips State Prison, we were short in manpower. So we didn't have the security strength that we needed to actually pull something like a Kairos weekend off. Well, I kept bringing it to the warden still. And finally, the warden said, "Yes, we have enough security elements now, and you can line it up, get the weekend set up, but you have to work it." Oh, I was heartbroken. Not really. I was the most excited guy on the compound, actually. So I got to talk to some of the Kairos brothers that had come from other institutions into Phillips, and we got to start building the team and putting everything together. And I actually got to experience Kairos Weekend 1 at Phillips State Prison, which so for me, it was okay. All I had to do was count the guys basically that was the only function I really had. But there was another interesting thing that kind of happened during that weekend is when it was open mic time, one of the officers that was working the security detail with me, I wasn't the only security officer there, stepped up to the microphone. Yes. The other officer in the security detail with me stepped up to the microphone to share part of his testimony with the inmate population. Now, I'm sure that all the Kairos volunteers were as shocked as I was. But I think it's testament to what's going on in the weekend. Changing hearts, transforming lives. That's all going on right then. And Phillips had several. I was there for several more Kairos weekends, and things just kind of got smoother and better and easier to work, and so it was good at Phillips. Then I spent a few years in detention centers, and the population in the detention centers are not there long enough to really have a Kairos weekend. They were only there for 90 to 120 days. We were running the guys out on work details, and it was just sort of work camps, basically, is what we were doing. But then I was fortunate enough to be promoted on December the 22nd. As a matter of fact, the commissioner called and said, I need you to be at Lee State Prison in Leesburg, Georgia. Now, if you're not familiar with Georgia, there's a long way from Dallas, Georgia, where I was, to Leesburg, where I had to go. It's about, 270 miles or so between those two. I need you there on January 1st. Absolutely. Loaded up my trailer, hauled off down there, a utility trailer with a bed and a nightstand and a lamp so that I could see what I was doing at night. But so I went to Lee State Prison, where I was fortunate enough to inherit a booming, healthy Kairos community. Doug Unger was one of those guys in that community that were keeping that thing going and making it work. And there's where I started to sort of see the other fruits, the other things that come out of the Kairos program. The brothers would meet together at tables in their dormitories and have their prayer and share meetings. In fact, I still carry a card occasionally. Yeah. So that, thank you. So that it's like I'm seeing this go on in the dormitories, which is a real benefit, because it's like that's what I got out of my Curcio weekend, was my group reunion. So I still meet now, 20 years later, with men each week to kind of keep myself focused and in line and where I need to be and what I need to be doing. So it was great to see the community there rallying around those times to prayer and sharing. I didn't get to stay at Lee very long. I was only there for a year and a half, so I only got a couple of weekends. But I was honored to be asked to participate in the closing there, which was another transformative moment for me. Thanks, Doug. After that, I moved to Walker State Prison, which, again, if you're not familiar with Georgia, Leesburg is way south. Walker is way north. Like 10 miles from Chattanooga, where I was fortunate enough to be the warden of the Faith and Character Prison in Georgia, Georgia's only Faith and Character prison. 400 men involved in a faith and character program that is, I don't think, matched anywhere in the country. It's the only one like it, I'm sure of it. That had a very healthy Kairos program. There's a couple of interesting things about that Kairos program. If you'll remember back, I said I was at Hayes and we had a Kairos weekend, and that's my first experience with Kairos. There was a security officer there. He was a CERT team member. CERT team is like the police prison, the police in the prison. They're sort of the guys that have to go do cell extractions and all this other stuff that is not very pleasant. He was my deputy warden at Walker. So he got to experience Kairos weekends in a whole bunch of different ways. And what really makes it easy for us to bring the program in there is because he knows the value of the program and the value that you bring to that program from other places. Then that's the kind of impact that you have on our staff. We have staff that step up to microphones during open mics. We have staff that provide security at a maximum security, close security institution, and then they're able to transition to a facility where faith and character programs are the diet of the day. So the changes that you make, that you bring by being present, are invaluable. It's sort of like the MasterCard commercial, right? How much do the crosses cost? How much does the cookies cost? But the change, what do you get? It's invaluable, priceless. That's right. A few years ago, I was at a place in my life where I was thinking, okay, in business, we have these slogans and we have these missions and visions and all these kinds of things. Okay, well, what's my mission? And you can't make this up. My mission, I decided a couple of years ago, was be present. And be available. So it's one more step for me. I not only have to be there, but I have to be vulnerable. I have to be able to separate like the drop or the drip. But I have to be able to sort of be able to open up. And that's how I think I was able to manage in these environments day in and day out. And I think that's what you bring when you come to our facilities. You bring that presence. In fact, I think you bring the presence. Your piece of the presence, you being present, is a part of that greater presence. And you bring that with you to the environment of the prison. And that's a place where there's a limited amount of hope before you get there. And then there's no limit when you leave. That's what you bring. That's what you bring not only to the participants in the program, but that's what you bring to the staff that are standing, actually volunteering to be there for the weekend. Some of them like it so much that, I'm in. Yeah. Oh, that's coming again. Great. That's me. I'm in. They love it. So I encourage you to continue to be present, bring the presence, and be vulnerable when you arrive. We're familiar with a term that's on the back of our crosses, whether it be our Curcio cross or our Kairos cross. Christ is counting on you. Thank you.